Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Last year, I gave an emphatic buy to the Acer Aspire Switch 10, a hybrid tablet notebook featuring a 10-inch multi-touch screen, a quad-core Intel Atom, and a decent number of features in a 1 to 2-pound Windows 8.1 package for less than $400. This year, Acer has upped their hybrid game with the Acer Switch 11, a 2.5 to 3.4-pound 11.7-inch by 8.1-inch by 1-inch thick upgrade. Bigger, faster, and solid-der. Our review model was the Acer Aspire Switch 10 SW5-171-39LB. And I gotta say off the bat, Acer, please stop making me read off inmate numbers to identify your products. This is the only Core i3-equipped Switch 11, so I'm gonna call it the Switch 11 i3. Under the hood, you'll find a 1920 by 1080 IPS with 10-point multi-touch screen, driven by an Intel dual-core i3 4012YU CPU running at 1.5 GHz, with 4 GB of memory and integrated graphics. For storage, it sports a SATA 600 128GB SSD, as well as a micro SD card slot. The 11i3 has both Bluetooth 4.0 and 802.11ab/GN wireless for networking, and has a micro HDMI interface right next to a USB 3.0 port. Button-wise, the left side of the device has a power button, volume rocker, and a Windows hotkey. The keyboard is surprisingly good, much more firm than the one that came with the Switch 10. And of course, since the 11i3 is larger, the keyboard is larger. If you've worked on an Ultrabook keyboard, this will feel just right. The touchpad is a little better than the one on the Switch 10, but it still feels a little cheap, and I wanted a bit more responsiveness. Of course, that's the specs of an okay notebook, but what makes the Switch 11 clever is its hybrid design. The screen is attached to the keyboard with a set of friction latches and magnets. Like the Microsoft Surface, remove the keyboard and the Switch 11 is a standalone Windows 8.1 tablet that's a pound lighter. Put it back and it's a traditional notebook with an extra USB 2 port. Flip the screen around and it can tuck the keyboard behind itself. Lift the screen and it acts as a presentation display. Flip it over and now you're in tent mode. As a Windows 8.1 tablet, the 11i3 gets good marks. The industrial design is firm, if a bit utilitarian. With a dual-core i3 CPU and a decent set of specs, it's responsive enough to handle just about everything you might throw at a mid-range Ultrabook. The IPS screen is beautiful with rich colors and deep blacks, though Acer still hasn't fixed that touch rotation problem that plagued the Switch 10. As a laptop, it fares much better than its predecessor, with a larger and higher quality screen, more responsive digitizer USB 3, and much faster storage and processor. But what it loses is the Office Home Suite that was included with the Switch 10. In PC Mark 8, the 11i3 scored 1871, just about right for an i3 notebook. The 2850 mAh battery was drained from full in just under 6 hours with typical use. I was able to eke out 8 hours with all the power-saving features turned on, but 5.5 to 6.5 is the usual runtime. In the end, the Switch 11 is a competent starter's notebook with bonus features of a hybrid design. You can buy the Switch 11 series now starting from $349, going up to $700. Our 11i3, as reviewed, was $575. Now, on the Pro side, I like this as a tablet. It's actually a very competent Windows tablet, especially at the price. It's got a decent set of features. It's got a decent set of punch. I also love this screen. They've done a really good job with giving you a screen that's got a wide viewing angle. Unfortunately, my camera was picking up some flicker, but I think that was just a setting I was having when I was filming this review. Otherwise, it's deep, it's rich, it's nice. In fact, they've taken everything they learned from the Switch 10 and they pushed it into the Switch 11. On the con side, the first thing has to be the speakers. The audio on this is horrible. You can't hear anything. In fact, you might as well not have speakers and just use the audio jack. I also am not a big fan of the auto rotation sensitivity. This thing always seems to either spin late or spin early. I was asking for some way to lock down rotation, an easy way to lock down rotation after my Switch 10 review, and unfortunately, they still haven't fixed that. And then there's this. This bass, not the greatest. The keyboard is much better. So they've really improved the keyboard. It was really just a matter of spacing, and you've got decent throw. But this is not
not a good touchpad. Let me be honest. Yes, I'm going to use this a lot as a tablet, but when I do use it as a traditional notebook, I want to know that my fingers aren't going to be like hurting just to do a key press. Now, if I had to do a try, buy, or don't buy, I'm afraid I have to give this a don't buy. Yeah, now this is a qualified don't buy. I actually like the Switch 11 on the low end. The 349 version is very, very good. It's an Atom processor. It's just like the Switch 10, same pricing, same idea, which is if you need something simple, you get that. I also like the higher version of this with the i5 processor instead of the i3, but that goes for $700. The problem that Acer is running into is that they make too many other notebooks, like the R13 or this S7, that once you bring this up to $700, I would rather pay $100 or $200 more to get one of those rather than stick with this. So again, a qualified don't buy, but yeah, the Acer Switch 11 i3, am I calling it, is definitely a don't buy.